I haven't counted a calorie. I magically lost 110 pounds, not counting the calorie.
That's Vic Bazbajan, who lost 110 pounds in his 50s after a lifetime of obesity. So if you think that your obesity is past the point of no return, think again and listen to Vic.
I would like to think the greatest accomplishment is amongst many, but getting off 30 years of hypertension medication.
I'd say that's a huge
Yeah,
accomplishment.
yeah.
How? And how did you do that? What brought you to that?
Basically, if I go back to the beginning, I just started low carb, not even knowing, anything about keto really. Literally, never mind really. I didn't know, and I had no knowledge of keto. I said, let me start just by cutting out bread, rice, potatoes, pasta, and that's all I started with. I mean, on this last attempt of desperation of what we're going to do to finally lose weight in my lifetime, which I'll carry back to later. So I started off low carb, and low carb, that was the only sense of it. Rice, potato, pasta. I mean, it's not really constitutes low carb, but lower carb, right?
Mm-hmm.
So started seeing some weight loss, nothing major, but feeling no different. And then I got onto keto, stumbled onto keto, did research on keto, and embarked getting deeper into the journey of going really low carb and really taking my carb intake quite low. I'd like to say I generally did not surpass 20 total carbs a day.
Wow. How long
So
did it take you to get there?
I was about 2 months into the bread, rice, potato, pasta scenario. And then so like 2 months after that is when I started kicking into the keto, look into the, getting a knowledge of, carb intake and what have you. Um, and it was pretty much immediate. I kept it below 20 to 20, 25 tops, I would say, of
Wow.
total carbs.
2 months. That's huge.
Yeah. My only thing was just to keep me on board was, I mean, again, and you're still keeping it all week in the right space. I would do a low carb, a fathead pizza, or I'd make the first generation of Maria Emmerich's breads to get me by the cravings, get me by, on the weekends, feel like I'm having something that's still, carby, but without as much carbs in it. So, yeah, so that's how I started. And lo and behold, one day, on having no knowledge that this is the natural progression for most people, not for everybody, but that it will have an effect on your blood pressure, right? So I was on medication, and I'm sitting on my back terrace, and I started feeling a little bit lightheaded.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
at this point, I would probably say I had lost about, my start point was 300 pounds. And
You?
yeah,
You?
300 pounds. Yeah, 298 pounds. Well,
How tall are you?
6'1", 6'1". So, yeah, 300 pounds. And I was probably down to about 275 at that point, 270, 275. Started feeling lightheaded. Um, all too familiar about the feelings of when you're on blood pressure medication for 30 years, either way, I mean, but I never really felt it going down. I
Yeah.
always knew the upswing. I knew what it
Yep.
felt like when it's out of control going on the higher end, right?
Yep.
So I said, something's not right. Let me just, I pulled out
Cuff.
the blood pressure cuff. And just to put it into perspective, even when I was on medication, on my best day, I would still be hovering at borderline of 140 over 90. That was as best as it got, even on medication. On a good day, 138 over 87, 88.
Yeah.
Okay. But sure enough, I throw on the cuff and I was at 90 over 60.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
What were your symptoms?
Uh,
Lightheaded?
Extremely lightheaded, just like lightheaded, weak, we'll call it lethargic, but just very, very weak and lightheaded, very weak and lightheaded. So,
This is 2 months?
2 months in,
2
2.5 months,
months in. Two and a
two and
half.
a half months in, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Well, actually, I should say 2 months, 2 months and about a month of 2 months of just like the not being on keto, just the lower carb, and then a month into the keto. So about a total of, let's say, 3 months.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
That worked pretty fast.
And so, yeah, and as you go on to learn that, I mean, it doesn't mean that that's going to be the rate for everybody.
Yeah.
That's how it was for me. That's how it transpired for me. I mean, I don't go around telling everybody that, you know what, in three
Yeah.
months,
Get
your
off your
blood
medication.
pressure, yeah, you'll be off your medications or whatever.
Absolutely.
But you know what? Even I mean, at that point, I didn't get off my medication. I mean, at the day after, I called my doctor and I said, this and this and this is what happened. And he said, well, you know what? Without seeing you, basically, I mean, it's very simple. Throw out what you have, and I'm going to re-prescribe half the dosage, and let's see where we go from there. And
Makes
so he re-prescribed, and I would say in another so with the half dosage, what happened was I got to a normal blood pressure level of, let's say, 120 over 80, around there, right? But sure enough, 2 months later, we hit the same scenario again.
But you knew what it felt like this time.
So now I know what's going on again. And you know what? So if you really look at it, in about 5 to 5.5 months, I was able to uh, be free of 30 years of blood pressure medication.
30 years.
30 years from the age of 25 to
25.
25. I was on blood pressure medication at the age of 25, all the way to 55. And so now I'm 6 years into this journey. I guess I just gave my age away. I'm not actually. That's okay. I'm proud to give my age away and
Yeah,
knowing where I am, and
you
I'll
should
be
be.
61 in September and med free. Med free.
Brag, baby, brag.
Yeah.
So when you were 25, you obviously had high blood pressure. Did you have, looking back, did you have any other things that you think should have been diagnosed as well?
Knowing what I know now,
Yeah. Yeah.
as we learn as we go along,
Yep. Cheers.
I can probably almost bet my bottom dollar in life savings that I was insulin resistant and that this word was not even, I mean, I had the same doctor for 30 years, and God rest his soul as we speak today. But um, never once for 30 years that the notion that you just may be insulin resistant, not even, I mean, I have a pretty good memory. And even though I didn't know anything about it, then I would have remembered if that term was
Yeah.
at least mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
It's still not
yeah,
mentioned most of the time.
it
So
was
did you?
still, it was what goes on today. It was that
Yeah.
5 minute visit,
Mhm.
check his blood pressure, uh, tell him to watch his salt intake
Mhm.
and eat less and move more. And you know what I mean, it's uh, what still goes on today, sadly, in a lot of doctors' offices, right?
Yep. And were you, at what point in your life did you notice the weight crept on, or were you always overweight, or what was the story there?
Battling obesity all my life. Uh, I was, if I want to be gentle to myself and not call myself obese at the age of 10 and call myself overweight, no, I was obese at the age of 10. If, knowing what I know now and knowing that, and, God forbid even today, it seems that society walks on eggshells and is shy to tell somebody that they're obese, right? And they, oh, you know what, you're overweight or you carry it well or blah, blah, blah. And no, the truth is you're clinically obese. And I was clinically obese, 10 years old, 12 years
You could
old.
still be a beautiful person and be overweight, yeah.
Right, right. And there's no shame in that, but that is the reality. That's what it was. And
So
so
that's, I have to say, I'll interject this. Wow. I mean, you had a lifetime of obesity, and then you decided to cut some carbs, and then you went keto. Holy cow.
it was
That's inspiring. People need to hear this, and that's why I'm so glad that you came on here. Thank you so much. Go ahead, sorry.
lifetime of yo-yo dieting. Okay.
Okay. So let's hear a little bit about that if you don't mind.
Lifetime of yo-yo dieting. If you can if you can call out just about any diet you can think of, Vic's probably done it. Okay.
Remember Susan Powder? Remember Suzanne Powder?
Yeah.
Short blonde hair, full of energy, sexy. 1990s. She was my queen. I wanted to be her in the 90s when I was in school. I wonder where she
Yeah.
is.
So uh I don't know how your crowd, what the age group is of your general crowd, but
I don't
I
have
don't know if
any.
anybody's I'll go back all the way down to what was um very popular at the time was the Scarsdale medical diet.
Mhm.
Okay, so it was a 2 week, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, sort of uh, high. Now that I analyze what it was a high protein, low fat diet. Okay, and it did work. It did work. It took weight off. It took weight off like magic, actually. The problem is it came back double as fast in the magic. Okay. And so Scarsdale medical diet, Weight Watchers, repeat offender, uh, the cookie diet, the soup diet, the go on and on and on and on and on. And I must say, uh, I took off weight with all of them. Taking off the weight was not the problem. Problem was keeping it off.
The right
And
weight and keeping it off. Yep.
what happens though? All those diets, oddly enough, that they call uh, keto low carb on social media, the battles that go on social media, and which I'm all too familiar to, and they call it restrictive and unsustainable. It's all the other diets that were restrictive and unsustainable, and I'll go to war with anybody on that if they've ever gone on a diet in their life, and I can break down each one of them for them. What
Ooh.
happens is on the other ones, you're praying to the Almighty God that this diet comes to an end,
Mhm.
so that you can go back to eating what you were eating.
Nicely put.
So you're just white knuckling, you're suffering, you're just saying, just let me get to my goal weight, and then I can just go, because you're really not restricting anything, really. You're just calorie counting. And if you're doing Weight Watchers, the point system back then, I mean, now it's a free for all from what I hear. It's 0 points for half their stuff or whatever. But uh, uh, I mean, all Weight Watchers is really a calorie system disguised in points, right?
Yeah.
So uh, eat this many points, lose, so calorie deficit, but you're just constantly hungry,
Yeah.
totally hungry. So
That's why you need a support group.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Yeah, you better have a support. Well, the support groups weren't good for much either. They just tell you how you must have messed up if you didn't lose a pound or two in the week, right? So
not very supportive.
they're not going to ask you, Weight Watchers is not going to ask you how was your stress level last week, how was your sleep last week, anything lifestyle changing, none of this is addressed, So it's always your fault for not eating, the right amount of points or what have you. So, yeah.
Question. When you started eating low carb, well, let me preface it with this. When people come to me, they're like, okay, I want to try it. Try it. Like, I'll try it for a month kind of thing. Now, don't get me wrong. When I speak to somebody, I'll often say, just try it for a month if they're like not even on this, thinking of, if they're not even contemplating, right? But if someone who's contemplating, they'll say, okay, I'll try whatever you got. To me, that means they have an end date to that diet in mind. What kind of mentality did you have when you started going low carb? Was it any different? Was it the same kind of mentality as any other diet? What was different? Or was it just the diet that was more effective?
Well, to attempt and try it, I mean, I must say I was probably in the same kind of mindset that most people are in.
Yeah.
I mean, what do I got to lose, right? I've tried everything else. I might as well try this too. Let's roll the dice and see where it goes, right?
Yeah.
So what did I have to lose? I mean, and if I can just back up for a second, oddly enough, with all the other diets and we had a giggle about this when we had the pleasure of meeting a couple of months back. I've tried just about every freaking diet at the time except the Atkins, because my first reaction when I heard about the Atkins, I'm transparent, I'm calling what it is, and this is so I never so I this is why I don't blame people today when they don't know, and because I was no different, okay? And my first reaction was, oh great, these people are eating, the toppings off the pizzas and this and that and whatever, and they're all heading for a freaking heart attack, right?
Yep.
So my mentality was no different when I was not educated about this, right? So it's hard to blame people. Instead of blaming them, let's educate them. Let's get the word out there, and let's, live and lead by example, and explain to them and take the time to explain to them and tell them why, and why it works and why the other things didn't work. And then it's not an easy sell. It's the David and Goliath, and we're David, and the Goliath is the big pharma and big food, and so but it's not an easy sell. You shouldn't have to sell it. The person should want to make the change, or make at least attempt it. Because if you're going to convince and talk somebody into it when they're not even ready, it's probably not going to work, right?
Yep. Maybe we'll help them plant some seeds, but yeah.
That's all you can do. Yeah, plant the seeds, It's I've had plenty of people come on board just by planting seeds, and like whenever you're ready.
And they see you and your accomplishments. That helps. Talk about accomplishments. What other things have you accomplished because of this wonderful weight loss? What other great things have occurred?
Well, I got off this thing called the boat anchor, which I used to call the CPAP machine. I had CPAP.
How many years were you on it?
I was on it for 5 years. 5 years.
That's
yeah.
Anchor.
Yeah. 5 years, and glad, that's another, I mean, call it an accomplishment. I call it, it's not my accomplishment. It's the healing of this way of eating, of what it does, right? And
side
again,
effect. Watch out.
will everybody categorically get off the CPAP machine? Not necessarily, but it's chances are very good that a lot more people will than that they will not. I would like to think to believe, but there will be some cases that,
Sure.
you know.
How did your family handle all your changes? Was your wife on board with your desires to eat differently?
I was very fortunate. My wife really supported me from day one.
Oh,
Uh,
that's wonderful.
yeah, she supported me from day one. She pretty much, and even up till today, she eats pretty much what I eat.
Beautiful.
Uh, a
That's
little
great.
bit of, little bit of sliding on the side here and there, but which is totally acceptable. Uh, no, she was supportive from day one, and I, I told her at the beginning. I said we got to stay away from the restaurants, right? At the beginning, we need to stop eating out just until I get a handle of this and whatever, and then we can then full support, and up till
So,
today, she really supports me on it, and it's
so
become
are
her
you,
life as well. Yeah.
I know you cook. Are you both cooking for each other, or how does that work? Are you the main
We're a
cook?
good, we're a good team in the kitchen.
Oh, that's awesome. Maybe we need to have another podcast about good marriage, teamwork. What about your doctor? What did he say or she about your accomplishments?
Well, I must say my doctor, which like I said, now rest the soul, the old one, the first one, when I had first lost all that weight, which I mean, so I lost 110 pounds.
Holy cow.
Um, yeah, and I've maintained it for 6 years now, actually. So
So how
it's
long did it take you to lose that 110 pounds?
it was
Not that it
15.
matters.
No, well, no, it actually does matter because I want people to stop, stop following unrealistic things on Instagram that,
Nice.
I lost, all these claims that they lost crazy amounts of weight in 2 weeks or three
Yeah.
weeks or with one month. And
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, somebody can lose a huge amount, if their start point is 500 pounds, but don't tell me you lost 50 pounds, when you only had 70 to lose in 2 weeks, it's like,
Exactly.
so I like to mention, I have no problem mentioning it took me 15 months.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It took me 15 months, which
That's
basically,
amazing.
yeah. So it averages out to
That's
about 2 pounds a week.
that's amazing.
Did it work out necessarily to 2 pounds a week? Absolutely not.
Did the doctor say you're losing it too fast, or did he warn you or was he just, wow, tell me what you've done?
I I actually saw him. He hadn't seen me in a year, right? So at that point,
Oh,
when I saw him, I had lost like 90 pounds, or
he's
you
like,
know.
who's this?
He goes,
What did he
he goes. It was his reaction is quite interesting, actually.
tell?
He says, you know what? You've lost a hell of a lot of weight, and so this is what strikes me, and this is what is important, and I'll never forget. He goes, I'm not going to ask you if you're sick because you look great.
Oh my gosh. That's beautiful.
So there's a difference because unfortunately, in most, you can tell when people lose weight because of an unfortunate illness or whatever, the color, the complex, the look in the eyes, and what have you. And he says, you look good. He goes, I'm not worried that you're sick. He goes, well, what did you do? And, and I told him, and his reaction was, he goes, listen, he goes, I don't know anything about this keto diet. I'll be straightforward. I think it's a fad. But it goes, I'll tell you one thing, he said, I can't argue with your blood test results.
Nope, I can't.
So at least he didn't try to talk me out of it.
Good.
He said it's working for you. Keep doing it until a point that your blood works tell me otherwise.
Okay.
So I think it's a win from what
Yeah.
other kind of doctors you can end up,
Yeah.
what other doctors you can, they'll categorically tell you to get off it, even if you're having success, right?
Become a believer?
Uh, he was, you know what? He was indifferent. He was like, is he gonna actually at one time he said, maybe I should send my daughter to you.
Cool. Hey now.
That never happened, but you know.
Well, if you think about it, if he believes in it, he's got to undo so much in that head, and it's stressful for us healthcare practitioners to think we were wrong. What about exercise? Did you exercise during this time?
I lost 110 pounds by doing no more than brisk walking and the occasional bike ride.
Wow, that's amazing.
No, I can't say I wasn't moving,
Yeah.
but I can't say it was. Uh, by no means was I don't. I mean, knowing what I do now, that was not really. It was movement. It was movement. Okay, so
Yeah.
I started. I mean, first of all, at 300 pounds, can't do much exercise
Movement's good.
without hurting yourself, anyways, right?
Yep.
And so, I mean, uh, I would just, I was walking at the beginning, just a regular walk, not even a brisk walk,
Yep.
until, as the weight started coming off, so you're doing a brisker walk, doing a longer walk. And then when the weather permitting, when I had lost like about 50, 60 pounds at the time, started getting on the bike eventually. But that's where it ended, no more than that, until I lost 110 pounds that way. So no crazy amount of exercise, that's for sure. Now,
So what
today's a
happened?
different story.
What happened after you lost the weight? You started to do more exercise or what?
Uh, the magic of social media and community, right?
Mm.
And seeing, friends that I've met through social media and gotten close with and interacted with, and you say, wait a minute, you know what? They were posting, and you see the exercise they're doing, and you see that we're relatively, give or take a year or two up or down, the same age. So I just had this, it just came to me. I said, if they're doing it, why shouldn't I be doing it? There's no reason why I shouldn't at least give it a go, you know.
What did you give a
And
go?
it's been a year. it's
What?
it's when or what did I give a go?
Did you give a go?
uh weight training, resistance training.
It's my favorite. Yep.
Okay. So
That's brave.
I only started that a year. It's been actually it's been a year this week that
It's your
I
anniversary.
yeah, I went all in. I got myself a trainer.
Uh-huh.
Um, that I think counts for a lot. It's accountability and learning properly, and not getting injured, and uh, I think it's very important. I highly recommend anybody who's really not, from the gym world and not from the exercise world to invest in a trainer, at least for a short while. I still don't go to him as often as I used to, because now I have the privilege of having a gym in my in my condo. So, but I still have not uh, let go of him. I still will go once a week, and
Nice.
I'll do stuff that I can't do here at the right. I
Yeah.
have a pretty good gym,
Mhm.
but so I'll do 3 times a week in the gym here, and one time with the trainer. So I work out about 4 times a week. Uh,
Wonderful. Wonderful.
and it feels great. Uh, People, keep asking me this, like, especially recently, they said, like, when are you going to stop losing weight? And I haven't lost any more weight, right? I've actually gained weight, but
You
it's
probably
lean
lost
body,
some fat.
it's lean body mass, right?
Yep.
Which, so they interpret it as weight loss.
Yep. Gain the muscle, keep losing the fat. You're just a lean,
So just a
mean,
body composition.
burning machine. That's fantastic. So you feel so much stronger, huh?
Oh yeah. There's no. You feel stronger. You just feel so much better. You just have so much more energy. Uh,
What about
just you're overall in a better, just in a better place. Better, it's
you had
great.
sleep apnea, so I assume sleep wasn't great, but with the machine, maybe it was better. Are you sleeping any differently since you've lost weight?
I'm a little bit of a freak of tracking my sleep,
Oh,
just
okay.
just because I I don't know, I'm going down that rabbit hole of how,
Okay.
the importance of sleep and what have you. And I look out to see that, and it's funny, it just everything pans out that when I've got to the point now that if I have a bad night's sleep, I know why I had a bad night's sleep,
Yeah.
pretty much. So yeah, I generally have excellent sleep.
Uh-huh.
Um, and if I don't, I know I did something wrong, and I know that I'm going to wake up with a bad score that morning, right?
Uh-huh. Oh, did you ever use a glucose monitor?
That's the next thing I need to do.
Me too. Me too.
I have not. I want to slap one on for a couple of weeks
Me too.
and probably feed myself some stuff that I otherwise would have not.
Just
Just
for science. Just for
just for
science.
science, just to see, just to see actually what I will pick on. When I say just, I mean, we're joking about just for science, I'm not going to have a, I will go. I will go to Costco and I will pick up all those so-called keto products,
Ooh, good one.
and
Yeah.
I'll probably document it,
Hmm.
and just to show the people that what that so-called keto product is doing, which I'm gonna bet
Hmm.
90% of them will give you a spike. So
I've been dying to do that with my husband and just show like differences amongst people and because I'm kind of into the microbiome. Not that I'm not high fiber either, but I'm into individuality and our just the difference in our microbiome and our digestion can make big impact on our blood glucose and insulin and all that good stuff. So yeah,
absolutely.
I look forward to that.
I mean, I said Costco because just that Costco just has just about everything under the moon,
Yeah.
right? I mean, so
Yeah. Oh yeah, Costco's great. Nothing wrong with
so
Costco.
uh,
Do
so I
you
want, like I said, I picked something up the other week. I get quite angry when I see those things
which
because
one? What?
it was a flatbread. It was actually a Canadian brand.
Yep.
Uh, it's basically no different than a regular flatbread,
Yep.
and they've still gotten away with writing keto on it, right?
Yeah, because of all the fiber they added to it, all the net carbs.
Yeah,
You add
yeah,
a little bit of fat, then it's keto.
yeah.
Add
I
some
don't know.
seed oil.
you know, Unfortunately, most people, and again, I'm not blaming anybody,
Yeah.
especially if they're just starting, don't, they just have that aha moment because, oh, I can have bread, it says keto on it, right?
Yes.
Or a wrap
Yes.
or whatever. And I mean, what part of, eventually they'll understand and say, hey, what part of wheat don't they understand is not keto? It's like, but you can't blame anybody. But and again, and then sometimes, as much as I hate to say this, some of them, like you say, okay, would I rather they have that crap instead of the real crap as they're transitioning? It depends how
Um,
bad it is. It
yeah,
depends how bad it is.
I
It
hear
depends how
you.
bad it is.
I hear you. Um, what do you think is the most instrumental thing that's helped you the last 6 years? What is it a coping mechanism you have? Something somebody told you? The fear of a heart attack? What keeps you going?
Um, the knowledge that I have gained,
Mm.
um, be it through uh, my main source of knowledge actually started, and It's funny, we talk and laugh about this with Dr. Tro, and I'm a graduate of the Low Carb MD podcast, right?
Mhm.
I've learned so much from that podcast. That's where my starting hub was. And I think I've listened to just about every episode of it. And,
Let's give them
they've,
a little plug. Say the name
yeah,
again.
Low Carb MD podcast with Dr. Chokalajan and Dr. Brian Lenskis.
Mhm.
And, they cover so many topics, and they have, you know, giants of the industry on their platform talking about all kinds, that down to lame people like myself on the podcast. And it's a good coverage, and so
Yes.
you learn a lot there. And then from there on, I move forward to getting quite knowledgeable through the nutrition network. And I'm gonna I'll get deeper and deeper with that. And
Nice.
so with the knowledge that I've gained, I've developed also this very deep anger. Uh,
Passion. Passion. No,
uh,
I get it.
some
I get
days,
it.
yeah,
Isn't it hard to watch the news?
it's very hard. It's very hard to watch. It's very hard to see people talk, without really knowing or even trying, and even analyzing what could be and what can't be. The push against it. It's all about the mighty buck, the mighty dollar. Like, probably need a 5-hour podcast if we want to go down that hole. But it makes me very angry.
Yeah.
So anger drives me. Anger drives me to get the word out there.
You sound really
Passion,
angry.
passion. Uh, I don't want anybody else to. I don't want any other teenager to get ripped off of their youth the way I did.
Ooh, nice, nice. It's funny because I just made fun of you because I said you sound really angry. You always sound so eloquent. So it's funny when you say you're angry because I can't imagine you angry, but internally I feel it. I understand it. I understand it. And what
It's
you just said
it's
there was so powerful. You don't want any youth getting robbed. And they're getting robbed all over the place.
getting robbed. The youth are getting robbed. The elderly are getting robbed. Okay, the elderly are getting robbed because nobody tells them that they should be, you know, eating a sufficient amount of protein, that they should be doing, at least according to their age, a little bit of resistance exercises, even if it means getting up and down on their chair and moving, not to lose their muscle mass. Because let's face it, I mean, 90% of the people that end up in an old folks home are ending up there, it's because of they're losing muscle mass, right? And they don't have the strength to get up. So
And
if
that's
these
good.
people, it's not their fault. They're not educated about it. It hasn't been brought out to them. And so nobody's being given knowledge of how to stay healthy or live a more quality filled life in your golden years, right?
Yeah,
There's,
we kind of when
there's,
we walk into the doctor, I mean, I remember I go to the doctor myself, and of course I took my parents the last few years of their lives, and I could give a whole series of podcasts about that. When you go, or I can just see my mom when she would go there, she would leave her head outside her brain, outside the door, and then let the doctor do whatever he wanted in regards to medicine. Okay, you go to the pharmacy, bam, no questions asked. No questions asked whatsoever. And I have a lot of anger when it comes to, I have a picture I could probably show and you can see how angry I am. A picture of my dad smiling, just so adorable, very sarcopenic, just adorable by his door with his hands on his hips, wearing a diaper over his pants that he
yeah,
put there. And I'm going to try not to cry. And there's 2 medications I'm absolutely positive help them get there. And I don't want to get, in trouble here, but one of them starts with an S and the other one starts with an I. Well, one of them's more of a name brand, but one of them had to do with type 2 diabetes, and it should never have been on his MAR. And another one he started taking when he was retired because his cholesterol started to go a little high. And let me just tell you, strong, beautiful, smart man with a diaper over his goddamn pants. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I
So
whoo, mm-mm.
everybody, you know what, whether it's youth, whether it's young children, especially now that we're hearing numbers that it's heartbreaking that you're hearing children under the age of 5 being diagnosed with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And so no, every child, every teenager, every elder person deserves better. uh, it's not their fault. They have no knowledge. We got to somehow get the knowledge out there. So we got to be screaming at the top of our lungs to get this out there. I mean,
That's why we're doing this.
it's what it is.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah, we can go on for hours about that. I thank you so much for sharing your anger, your passion, because you're not alone, and it's nice to know I'm not alone. When it comes to all of this, is there one thing or a few things that you've actually learned about yourself that you're surprised
Um, am I surprised about myself? Yes and no. I'm surprised that I was able to finally give up, uh,
about?
escape the jaws of obesity and the carbs, which I thought I would have never been able to do. But then again, on the other hand, I have the answer for it. I now understand how I did it.
Exactly.
Um, this is what, if you can get people to understand that, once they understand how and why this can be successful, it's more powerful than what you're actually going to be eating and your food choices.
Mm, mm.
Uh,
Preach it. Preach it.
so, the whole fight about calories and, calories, do they matter? And our camp generally says calories do not matter. I like to phrase it that I say calories do matter. They do matter when you're eating the wrong foods.
Ooh, okay.
When you're eating the right foods, chances are they're not going to matter. I haven't counted a calorie. I magically lost 110 pounds, not counting the calorie. Um, so, but if you do eat the wrong foods, yes, calories do become very relevant. Okay. Uh,
Substrate.
satiety. And so if you're eating the right foods, it's going to give you the satiety. It's going to give you satiety. And when you have satiety, you're not gonna overeat. You're gonna be content. You're gonna be full. You're gonna be satiated. But if you're gonna go to a barbecue and you're gonna pound 2,000 calories of nuts and Doritos before the meal is even served, well, and you're still hungry, and so then calories do count, right?
Sure. I mean, if you think about it, it's just it's a measurement. It's just substrate going into your body. And of course, our body only needs so much, but there's a huge difference between one substrate and another in the physiological effects of it. And there's
I think that the biggest
science.
message, yeah, the biggest message we need to get out to the persons who are willing to look at this lifestyle and get them to understand is that a calorie is not a calorie.
Amen to that.
So once they understand that, and once they're willing to listen and see the difference of why, you know, uh, 300 calories of beef versus 300 calories of a donut is not the same thing,
No.
uh, then they'll start to understand. And most people do. I mean, it's music to my ear when most clients tell me, "I can't believe I'm not hungry." So
I find
that's
that it's
it's the
easier to
magic.
talk to the layperson than it is a health practitioner because it hasn't been drilled into their head. So When you talk to people because you do some coaching?
I do. Yes.
And is it mainly for weight loss?
Majority of my clients approach me for weight loss. However, I've had several clients that had maybe no more than 20 pounds to lose,
Mm.
10 pounds to lose,
Hmm.
and they weren't really, okay, they want to get rid of that last 10 pounds or so, and but they want to do it for health reasons. They want to do it for they want to they those are the people that have gotten a certain amount of knowledge, and
Yeah,
they know the harms of overconsumption of refined carbohydrates and sugar and
yeah,
stuff like that. So they want to clean up, and they, could be athletes, getting on board, that have um, finally come to realize that you don't have to carb load to work out necessarily. That depending on what level of athlete you are, uh, you know, uh, I actually converted my trainer into a carnivore. So, um, he had quite a bit of weight to lose. It's actually, we have a very, very strange way that we collaborate together. We barter nutrition coaching for weight training, for gym training. So
love it.
I've gotten hell of a lot more stronger and gotten lean body mass, and he's down 60 pounds and he's a carnivore. So
Yay!
yeah.
Wow, and I bet his performance has improved a lot, huh?
This is a young man. Um, he's powerful. He's from the heavy lifting world. His 500-pound deadlifts have not suffered because he stopped his carbohydrates.
500. Jeez. Thanks to you and
Yeah.
him for doing it.
Well, listen,
He's
that's people
open-minded.
always say, yeah, it's people always say thanks to you then, but it's it's they're the ones who did the work. You give them the guidance, and
Yep.
they're the ones that do the work. Just like somebody guided me, and I did the work, and it goes hand in hand. You can be the best coach, and if the person is not putting in the work, it's not going to work, right? So
Yes, you got that right. So, I have an annoying question. You're stuck on an island. What food do you bring with you, or do you hunt on the island?
it can't be a Big Mac trio.
A Dorito tree?
Um, if I'm going to answer it on a survival uh, aspect of survival, I'm on the island, right? So I got to worry about surviving, right? And not being able to.
Oh yeah, we need a lighter, I guess. But talk about food. Okay, just tell me what
No,
your
no,
favorite three
no,
foods
no,
are.
no. I'm talking about that's how I'll make my choices. That I'm going to pick the foods that are going to give me the highest amount of satiety,
Nice.
and that's how I got to think of survival, right?
Endurance, yeah.
So if I had to just pick three, okay, it's got to be beef, it's got to be eggs, and I'll throw in some avocados.
There you go.
Okay, so with these three alone, I think I got all the nutrition necessary. And doesn't necessarily have to be beef. It could be, ideally, it can probably even be liver. Not too many people like it, but if you want to go on the superfoods,
Do you like liver?
I love liver.
Beef liver?
Calf, yeah,
How do
calf
you
liver.
make it?
I always make sure that I buy I find that there's a big difference between the calf liver, the milk fed uh, uh, calf liver. I find it's a lot more tender. Um, I cut it up into small little slithers and just lightly pan fry it in ghee. With I marinate it with salt, pepper, garlic, cumin, onions, hot peppers. Marinate that with some any type of spice you want. And then the trick is, that's why I can understand a lot of people don't like livers. It's when it's overcooked, it's a nightmare. It's like
Yeah.
quick sear, a quick sear, no more than a total of 5 minutes of cooking. And yeah, I love it. I love it. It gives tremendous amount of satiety, super nutrient dense, and yeah, so beef liver.
Is it too
Uh,
much to ask if how many plant foods or what kind of plant foods you might eat or you do eat?
uh, I, I'm probably I'd like to call myself a ketovore.
Me
I'm
too.
not. I'm not. I don't eat a lot of plants, to be honest with you. Uh,
Me neither.
I when I feel like it, I have it. It's not that I try to avoid it.
Yeah.
Um, Actually, some days I'll tell my wife, hey, you know what? It would be nice to have a side of Brussels sprouts or something, or
Yeah.
uh,
For some
uh,
fun texture.
for some texture, for a change, just to like to have like whatever. But I would say 5 days out of 7, I there's really not much veggies happening. Um,
So where do you
but
get your phytonutrients? Where's your vitamin C? Sorry.
well, vitamin C, I could always, chop up a red pepper, bell pepper, right, and whatever, and not from orange juice, that's for sure.
Not that we need as much vitamin C when you eat this way.
Yes, yes, yes. I
So,
don't seem to be deficient in any vitamins.
yay.
I
I
I
just
do
don't know how you're
supplement.
sustaining yourself.
You
Just
know,
kidding.
I supplement. Not much. I don't go
Basics.
crazy. I don't go. Yeah, basics. I don't go crazy with 10,000 different kinds of supplements, but just the basics, really.
Nice. So what's next for you, Mr. Vic?
Uh, Mr. Vic is going to keep getting deeper and deeper into this. Mr. Vic is hopefully by the end of this year will have gone to the final stage with Nutrition Network to get accreditation for my MHP.
Nice.
Uh,
Nice.
I think it's a realistic goal to have it done by the end of this year, all depending on the schedule and all that. I
Good
mean, it's
job. Good job. Are
uh,
you going to go to any, do you have any conventions planned? Come to Florida.
well, I'm registered for, but the virtual for the San Diego,
Okay.
and I am already booked live for Boca in January.
What do you mean booked? You gonna talk?
No,
Oh,
I
okay.
mean I've reserved. I mean I did.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I'll see you there.
So
Yay.
like I've committed to being there is what I
Yeah.
meant to say. So
Okay.
I will be
I
in
was wishful
Boca.
thinking.
I will be in Boca in January. Yes.
Great. Yay.
Um,
Fantastic.
yeah. Aside from that, no. Just I'll probably not probably. I will virtually watch San Diego, Low Carb USA San Diego. Would have loved to been there, but
Can't be
there's a
every.
lot going on. Yeah, it can't be everywhere.
There was one
Uh,
this last weekend I wish I was at, but
now KetoCon.
gotta work. Gotta work a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's to do that, and get deeper into the coaching. I'm kind of shifting away from my professional career, uh, so I'll be cutting down my professional career into let's call it semi-retirement, uh,
Nice.
and but it's not going to be semi-retirement because I'm going to drill heavier into coaching. So
Good.
semi-retirement from my other career,
You don't need to retire. What are you gonna do when you retire besides travel? But you can still travel doing the coaching, right?
right? I
Good.
could still be in Florida and nothing changes, right? So
Mm-hmm. Good. 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 Well, I cannot thank you enough. Is there anything that you would love to share that you haven't shared?
again, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the main core of who the listeners are to this
Um,
platform or the podcast.
my family and friends right at the moment.
Okay, no, that's fine. And if this is exactly what I was getting at, I mean, if it's the family and friends, sure, whatever, but so I mean, they're getting great advice from you to begin with if it's family and friends, right? So, but again, my biggest my again, like not anger, but what kind of gets me going and gets me riled up is a lot of wrong social media information that's going on about uh, keto. Uh, please, people, keto is not an all-you-can-eat fat buffet. It's so much wrong information out there. I just always hope, and there's so much good information and the right information too.
If
I
you look
just
in the
hope
right
that
place.
people
Yep.
land in the right place because they can. Everybody who's landing in the wrong place are the ones that are actually the ones that'll start waving their flag that hey, keto is a fad and low
Yep.
carb doesn't work, and then because they weren't in the right platform and they didn't do it the proper way to begin with, right? So uh, with keto is not going to Costco and filling up your cart with packaged products that say keto on it.
Where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram. My handle on Instagram is uh, Keto Coach Vic. Or you can find me on my second home, the battlefield, on Twitter. Um, Better known as the Low Carb Beast on Twitter.
Nice.
I'm there quite often. Like if you want to reach me, Twitter is where you're probably going to reach me. A little bit
Okay.
on little bit on LinkedIn. I just that's fairly new to me, but um, mainly probably the easiest way to get to me is on Twitter. Yeah.
And name your website?
Ketocoaching.ca
CA for Canada.
for Canada. Yeah.
Woo! Now I have one last request.
Sure.
Can you say the Evolved Dietitian with your beautiful voice? And are you for hire for voiceovers?
Thank you for listening to an amazing episode of the Evolving Dietitian.
And you use the ing. That's perfect. Thank you so much. Vic, you're a pleasure. Thank you.
Same here. Appreciate you.